Hello my dear students, once again welcome to your Civics online class. So in today's class we'll be dealing with your third chapter from your Civics portion, that is known as the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. And in this chapter mainly we'll focus that how the Prime Minister of India is appointed, what are the terms, how many years that Prime Minister are being appointed. Apart from that, what are the Council of Ministers, how they play also a very important as well as significant role by helping or assisting the Prime Minister, and how overall the President is also been connected with the part or with the topic known as Prime Minister and all the three Council of Ministers that we have got in India. Okay, so let's start the class. So talking about the Prime Minister. So Prime Minister mainly comes under the article number 75, which clearly states that there should be an appointment in India for the post of Prime Minister. And we all know that how the Prime Minister is being appointed whenever there is an election of Lok Sabha. On that basis, we see that how from both the political party, like candidate are being stood, and how the citizens of India all over the Indian subcontinent, they just cast their vote whose age is 18 and above according to the article number 326, which also says that universal adult suffrage or franchise. So based on that, whichever the candidates gets the maximum number of votes, he or she becomes the next PM for how many years? For 5 years. So here we see that even the President of India, sorry, Prime Minister of India is also appointed by the President, but that is just like a formality, because overall the Prime Minister has been appointed by the majority vote when we see the Lok Sabha election. So based on that also we see that how the Prime Minister plays a very unique as well as great role for our nation India, and we see that how the parliamentary form of government is also under the India, and it was been taken from the UK, United Kingdom. Next, focusing on the formation of Council of Ministers, that how the Council of Ministers are also formed, under whose supervision, what are the roles that they need to play for overall the well maintaining of the nation as well as for all the citizens, keeping that in mind. So whenever we talk about the Council of Ministers, even the Council of Ministers have been appointed by the President but on the advice of Prime Minister, because we see when the Prime Minister is being appointed from any other political party. So let me give an example. For now at present we have got the Prime Minister known as Narendra Damodar Das Modi, and he belongs from Bharatiya Janata Party, that is BJP, with a lotus symbol. So based on that, whoever the Council of Ministers are there, all the ministers will come from the same political party, that is known as BJP. So based on that, how the President also appoints the Council of Ministers but with the advice of Prime Minister, because Prime Minister, he or she knows that which are the ministers capable of different types of post holder, either for railway, for defense, finance, for minority affairs, drinking water, and different topics are being given, and a particular portfolio. Portfolio means an identity card for all those kinds of ministers that are being given by the President later on with the advice of PM, that is Prime Minister. Next, talking about the Council of Ministers. So under the Council of Ministers, it has been categorized under three broad categories. So first, talking about the Cabinet Ministers, followed by Minister of States, and the third is known as the Deputy Ministers. Next, talking about the tenure. So for how many years the Prime Minister has been appointed after he or she takes the charge as a PM, and that is none other than for 5 years, but within that 5 years also the Prime Minister can resign from his or her post, or even he can be terminated, or he can be suspended from the work if he or she tries to violate and if he or she tries to misuse the power of a Prime Minister. But basically we see that the tenure is for 5 years, and after that again we will see the new Lok Sabha election after every 5 years. Next, talking about the position as well as power. So what are exactly the position and powers of a Prime Minister, who also has got a lots of functions to deal for overall the Indian government, because under India we have got like 29 states, 7 or 9 union territories. Apart from that, how many citizens reside in all the parts of the Indian subcontinent. So based on that, keeping in mind all the citizens for the state, everything, the Prime Minister has to play a very vital role dealing even with the President or with the Council of Ministers. So first we talk with the President, that how the Prime Minister plays a very important role with the President. First, talking about that the Prime Ministers play a link channel between the President and the Council of Ministers. So that also plays a very important role, followed by the Prime Minister also consult the President during emergency. So if you have seen the previous video regarding the second chapter known as the Union Executive of the President, in the last topic I taught you that there are three types of emergencies which are only been vested under the power of president, and there also the prime minister give lot of advice to deal with those kinds of problem, and overall the power lies only in the hand of president. So same case is been followed even in the prime minister, that means giving advice to the president. Next, talking about the cabinet. So what are also the powers or the function that the prime minister has to play with the topic called the cabinet. Talking first with the presides over all the meetings of the cabinet. So whenever there is any kind of meeting for all the cabinet ministers, so cabinet minister mainly talks about the different ministers, for the individual ministers like railway department, for the finance ministers, health ministers, minority ministers, backward ministers. So these all ministers, they are being called for a meeting, and overall the presiding, how the meeting is being conducted, that is under the responsibility of prime minister. Next, we talk about the prime minister also allocates portfolios. So portfolios means an identity card that is being given to each and every individual ministry for railway and so other ministers, those who come under the cabinet. And next, talking about even the prime minister is like a spokesperson of the government of parliament, because prime minister is exactly the real executive who work in practically with action. We see those kinds of work, schemes, policies are being done under the power of prime minister, whereas the president is just a nominal head. After that, we talk about what is exactly the collective responsibility as well as the individual responsibility. Because the collective responsibility mainly talks about the entire minister that comes under the council of minister. So council of minister like cabinet minister, minister of state, and the deputy minister. So all those ministers comes under the collective, and based on that, suppose whenever there is a no confidence motion, it is a motion which helps the ministers to get from their post. That means the complete minister get resignation if they are been found any such kind of like misusing their power, or they are going against the violation against the constitution of India with lots of violation and other thing. So based on that, they are being removed. But if we talk about the individual responsibility, individual means mainly talking only about the one ministers from every department of the cabinet minister, either talking about the finance department, from the railway minister. So individual, they are being removed if they are found like a misusing their power, or they are not going with the flow of the rules of the government of India. Based on that, they also have to resign through this no confidence motion. And the last topic for today's class, that is known as what is exactly the difference between the council of minister and the cabinet minister. So council of minister means as a whole all the minister comprising from cabinet followed by minister of state and the deputy minister. But cabinet, on the other hand, we see that the cabinet only focuses on those kinds of ministers who work very diligently, very actively under the supervision of prime minister, that is Narendra Damodar Das Modi. So let's see the exam topic. Like overall ministers comes under the council of ministers, whereas in the cabinet minister we see only a group of 20, 25, 30 ministers, that is individual minister under the cabinet. Second, talking about in the council of ministers we see the whole body, the entire minister, the three categories of ministers that I have already discussed with you. But in the cabinet minister, what we see is exactly talking about the national policies. What are the national policies scheme that is being done by the government of India under the prime minister's supervision, but even lots of advice, lots of topics are being discussed with individual minister. For railway, how many rails to be introduced for this new year, new year, and all those kinds of topics are also being highlighted on those field. And the last topic is known as the invitation. Like suppose whenever a meeting is being conducted under the prime minister's supervision, for only the cabinet minister, they have the full rights to attend the meeting. But until and unless an invitation is not being given to either deputy minister or any of the minister of the state, so they don't come and join the meeting conducted under the leadership of prime minister. So this was overall the difference between the council of minister and the cabinet minister. So hope you have understood with the chapter known as the prime minister, dealing with article 75 and what are the powers, functions that he or she has to play after being the PM of India, and the council of minister with cabinet, minister of state, and the deputy minister. Hope you have understood for today's class. Till then, stay safe. Goodbye.